Hello and Assalamualaikum. My name is Natasha and in this presentation, I'll be focusing on 3 key challenges that affect English development among Malaysian preschool students. Although English is introduced at the preschool level and is part of our national curriculum, many children still struggle with using the language confidently and effectively. This is actually true in rural or low-income areas where access to resources, training, and support is more limited. Research shows that preschool is a critical stage for language development. Children at this age learn best through interaction, meaningful input, and support from both school and home. But in reality, many factors hold them back from making progress in English. Today, I'll be discussing 3 of those main factors. The first challenge is the lack of play-based learning in preschool classrooms. Play is one of the most effective ways for young children to acquire language naturally. It helps build vocabulary, encourages communication, and boosts children's confidence in using a second language. According to Nguyen et al. 2022, language development improves significantly when children are given the chance to engage in play-based learning activities. However, in many Malaysian preschools, teaching still focuses heavily on worksheets and structured academic tasks. Teachers feel pressure to complete the syllabus, so they do not often do free play. Haley 2024 also pointed out that some educators believe play-based learning lacks clear outcomes, which make it harder to assess what children have learned. But by skipping play, children miss out natural opportunities to practice English in a relaxed and interactive way. Even though play is known to be effective, it's still underused because of rigid teaching methods and the need to meet syllabus targets quickly. The second issue is the difficulty bilingual children face when learning English grammar. Most Malaysian preschoolers speak Bahasa Malaysia or another native language at home, which makes English their second or even third language. Because of this, they often face delays in learning grammar rules like sentence structure, verb usage, and word order. Hamim et al. 2021 found that Malay English bilingual children make one mistake when repeating English sentences, especially while using helping verbs or arranging words in the correct order. Even 6-year-old children still struggle with tenses and sentence flow. These delays happen partly because children don't hear or use English often enough, and also because switching between 2 or more languages at an early age can be confusing. As a result, these children need more time and support to master English grammar compared to monolingual learners. The third challenge is the limited proficiency among preschool teachers. Some teachers are not confident in using English themselves. They may struggle with grammar, vocabulary, or pronunciation, and that affects their ability to teach the language effectively. Goh and Loy 2021 found that teachers with low confidence in English often avoided using it in the classroom. Instead, they switched back to Malay, which limited students' chances to hear and use English regularly. Mustafa et al. 2018 also observed that many teachers could switch because they felt unsure about their English skills. This weakens the language environment and reduces the quality of language input that students receive. If teachers themselves are not comfortable using English, they cannot guide students confidently, and this leads to slower and inconsistent learning. These issues show us that improving English education at the preschool level is not just about starting early, but also about how the language is taught and supported in real classroom settings. Thank you for listening to this part of the presentation. Thank you.
Hello and Assalamualaikum. My name is Nurnajwa Nadia binti Azman. In Malaysia, English is taught as a second language and is introduced to children as early as preschool. However, despite this early exposure, many preschoolers still struggle to use English confidently. This video explores why that is the case. I will argue that English development in Malaysian preschools is held back by 3 major factors: a lack of resources and training, a mismatch between curriculum and classroom realities, and lastly, limited English exposure at home and in the community. Let's begin with the first issue, a lack of resources and teacher training. This is especially true in rural preschools where classrooms often lack proper English teaching materials, digital tools, and language-rich environments. Teachers may not have access to updated or CFR-aligned training. As a result, they struggle to stay current with teaching practices that align with national standards. Mastery found that some teachers were using outdated materials and that the audio tools provided were too difficult for children to understand due to mismatched level and unfamiliar access. In another study, Lotfi also observed that many teachers had to create their own resources from scratch due to insufficient institutional support. Without enough appropriate materials or ongoing training, preschool teachers find it challenging to create fun, effective, and age-appropriate English lessons. Next, the second major issue is the disconnect between national curriculum goals and actual classroom practices. Preschool curriculum standards are often too advanced for the developmental level of the young children. For example, teachers claim that some preschoolers are expected to write complete English sentences, even though they have not learned the alphabet or basic phonics yet. The introduction of CFR-aligned standards has also added to the difficulty. Teachers are expected to meet higher language proficiency goals, but often receive unclear or insufficient guidance on how to do so. Go and Loy, as well as Lotfi, found that many teachers were confused and underprepared to implement CFR-based instruction. Frequent policy changes and vague guidelines leave teachers to interpret and adapt the co-curriculum on their own. This inconsistency weakens the effectiveness of English instruction and results in unequal learning experience across different schools. Lastly, the third issue is limited English exposure outside the classroom, especially in rural communities. At home, most families use Malay or other local language. Many parents themselves lack English proficiency, making it difficult for them to help their children with homework or English learning. Hamim found that children perform better in Malay because they use it more frequently at home. Similarly, Masuri also noted that some children have never heard or spoken English before entering preschool. Even when teachers provide English materials, most parents can't support their use due to their own language limitations. According to Lotfi, classroom instruction time is not enough to develop strong English skills if children don't also practice at home. With little support from families and communities, children become overly reliant on teachers for language input. This puts added pressure on already overworked teachers and slows down the children's English development overall. To conclude, the development of English in Malaysian preschools is limited by the challenges, as I mentioned before, the lack of teaching resources and training, mismatches between curriculum demands and classroom reality, and lastly, the minimal English exposure outside of school. These issues not only slow down English acquisition, but also widen the gap between urban and rural learners. To move forward, Malaysia must invest in curriculum reforms, teacher development, and family engagement. Without targeted intervention, the goal of nurturing bilingual students from an early age will remain out of reach. That's all from me. Thank you.